harder the battle, the sweeter the victory for me. We're guided and protected by the power of His Majesty. Truly, I said, the harder the battle, sweeter the victory for me. We're guided and protected by the power of His Majesty. So though them heathen approach with their iron bows, so very soon they're gonna be meals for vultures and crows. Multiplied woes and also sorrow, because them never love Selassie from the get-go. The seeds that they sow never yet seem to grow. Their arrogance is turning all their friends into foes. Illusion creators wolf in a sheep clothes, but soon them gonna know all what glitter ain't gold. The outer the battle, the sweet of the victory for me.
The heart of the battle. Yes, the heart of the battle, the sweet of the victory for us. Share the life, share the life. You know, we were talking to, what, 500 plus persons, and then they made blam. And we were zero. We were zero, but we're back. Share the life. If each of you share the life to 10 persons right now, we're going to surpass that number quickly. Share the life, folks. Tag somebody who was on that is not on right now. You know what is happening? They can't stand it, the truth. Pressure does bust pipe. Pressure does bust pipe. You know that you're credible, you're a clear and present danger when every time they have to attack you like this. Every time they try to shut you up, that is what these wicked and stinking people are about. Dirty and stink. They don't want the stench out there. When you put in the stench out there, they come after you. They come after you. They jam the signals. They knock you out. They give you 0 viewers. Hey, thank you, Coffee. Thank you for being vigilant. Coffee hit me up. He said, bye. Hey, I get a coffee. Bye. Well, I check. It's like, I don't know how long we were talking to nobody. Them stories stink and dirty. They don't want it. You know, how many of you read The Emperor's New Clothes? I remember reading The Emperor's New Clothes as a student while I was at St. George's Primary School. Yes, lots of you don't remember St. George's as a primary school. Y'all remember it as a community high or secondary school. I read The Emperor's New Clothes while I was there. I used to borrow my friends them. You know, you always had some well-to-do friends in your class and so on, that you would help out with a little walk and thing, and they would be nice to you. And some girls who used to get their little barrel and thing used to get these nice friends, and through this brain of mine, I help you, you help me, right? For the positive things, yes. Share the life, share the life. I'll tell you all a backstory in the meantime. And so I got to read like Emperor's New Clothes. And I read this book. What was the name of this book by? It was about a car, Zubi or something. I can't remember the exact story about the car. But it's the first time I came across the word diesel. Right? And in my confidence, ignorance, since I watched the word, I said diesel. Diesel. Right? And somebody who was reading along with me said, no, man, look at the word. Look, it's not diesel. Right? It's diesel. Because there were two nouns walk. What am I saying? There were two vowels walking together. Yes, I and E. Right? So we ended up with diesel. Right. But I still hear people say diesel. Or diesel, whatever they want to call it. So I learned a few things while I was at primary school. Yeah. By reading comics too. Nowadays, our young people are not reading comics. They're making themselves comics. Or they're allowing others to make them comics. Like I understand the youths at Nabal-Cliss. They got dead for making them comic. But they're going to get big trouble in Nabal-Cliss. For people land. You got a weakness to land, no? And you're going to see black people rise up in this country and they're going to get a serious conflagration over land. Continue that fall. Walk safely. To Beniba Mekwashiba, take notice. Share the live. We're waiting on y'all. I'm just dropping some bombs in the meantime. Now my feet is on and off. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? You see, when citizens don't stand up and defend their democratic rights, you get governments who allow this nonsense to happen. There's a squad in the Prime Minister's office overlooked by Kwame McCoy. Yeah, Kwame McCoy. He overlooks the squad in the Prime Minister's office. In fact, he might be the Minister of the Prime Minister, not Minister within the Prime Minister's office. He might be Minister of the Prime Minister. Yeah, remember who is the Prime Minister? Yeah, I know y'all got to think hard to... Is who by? The man has behaved worse than Sam Hinds. Oh, it's super. Yeah, the soup drinker, Mark Phillips. That's the man. Well, Kwame McCoy overlooks the squad in the Prime Minister's office there. Right? Overlooks the squad in the Prime Minister's office there. And so, these are the things they do. They monitor these shows, and they use software, the likes of Pegasus and so on, to interfere with your feed, to social media and elsewhere. And so when they don't think people should hear what you're talking about, especially when they got that stinking dirty story out there, that's what they do. They jam the signal and they knock you off. Right? But you know what? The art of the battle is sweeter the victory. We shall continue in this fight. We ain't giving up. The ancestors didn't give up. The ancestors didn't leave us with spirits of fear and defeatism. We ain't giving up. They didn't teach us how to sell out, like the youngsters in Nabakis are trying to do right now. And they can try to do it because the elders are allowing them to do it. Some people's foot should get broken. Whether you take it literal or figurative. So they can't move at the rate they tell themselves they're going to move to sell out black people and their patrimony. But we're going to talk about them. You see, sometimes these things just rest heavy on my stomach and I don't get to talk about them. I got to wait till Thursday or Friday because today is Minister Jordan. Tomorrow is Professor David Hinds. Right? And then I got to carry all this burden since last week, you know, it's in my mind. Yeah. But hey, yeah, don't worry. The people in the back, let's take note. Take note. Our leaders need to go around. Not that all of them have the ability. Let me be frank. But our leaders need to go around and talk to these black communities, talk to these people, and let them know really who is the enemy. Let them know who really is the enemy. You can't go to the enemy to solve a problem. It may appear as though he's solving the problem for you, but the greater benefit will go to him.
Yes, I was indicating that I had a call from the Prodigy, and they were bringing me up to date with their work, which I was happy about, and I immediately told them that I mean it's important for that kind of information to be made public. You know, you wait until somebody call you out and then you call to say, well, no, it's not necessarily so and so on, and this is the work that we are doing. And they said that is one of the problems we had even in the coalition government. PR, right? But I was happy to hear, and I told her that this information should be made public. That they are indeed doing that study, that the study on the status of African Guyanese was interrupted because of. She also let me know that that the decade does not end anymore in 2024. She said, in fact, there has been new declarations related to this, and that instead of the decade, it will be in perpetuity. In other words, then it's unlimited. It's an unlimited time. So the decade of people of African descent will no longer end in 2024, but it's way down into the future with an indefinite date. I said again that has to be put out there because people feel that and I was on the impression that the decade was ending in 2024 because a decade is 10 years. So if there has been changes at the level of the UN, then put it out there. Not everybody is following UN's matters and information. So that needs to be put up there. And she also indicated that the hosting some kind of a symposium also.
No, let me say I know that they usually host a symposium. As a matter of fact, I think that the information I have is that their symposium would have likely been last week, Sunday when we hosted ours. And so I'm sure they must have adjusted their calendar. So technically, yes, I know they will have a symposium.
Yeah, but there again, as I said, when it's news, I mean, you can't wait until the last day to say that Coffee Tuesday will be hosting a symposium. That's where you curtail your viewership. I mean, I don't see no reason why myself and others going to be announcing this, giving it a little big up, so that others will know and they will put it down in their calendar that they will be there to view it on their support.
I certainly agree with you, Mr. Jordan. And you talked about the attendance at our symposium the last Sunday, right? Like you said, we had a decent crowd. But we usually have a decent crowd because we do decent work. I'm not saying the others don't, but sometimes we wait until a day or two before to publicize these things. We fail to realize that people have lives, and our people especially are always on the hustle, right? They're always on the hustle, yes. So you have to give people long notice so that they can actually plan and carve out that little time so that they can attend and participate in these things. So adequate notice is important. Regardless of how good what you're putting together is, adequate notice is important. One of the other things I want to say, and this is not bashing anybody, a lot of people see Kams TV as Kidaki Amsterdam. I see Kams TV as for the Guyanese people, number one, and the African Guyanese community especially, that we don't have access to the media. And so I usually tell people, you got an issue, call me, let's see if I can make it, if we can use the platform. You have something to help the cause, call me, let us see if I can use the platform. And so all of these organizations, Afrocentric and otherwise, must also have the same idea. They must get the same message. You can call Mr. Amsterdam, let's see how we can use the platform. Because it's an effective platform, I can tell you that. Right? And, yes. These very organizations spend, like I say, I'm lashing people, but I'm observing, and we're talking about it for now. They would spend hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to promote these events in the mainstream media. When to a large extent the mainstream media has isolated black people or isolated the people that they need to reach. And so a lot of these people who they are trying to reach through the mainstream media don't even have time with the mainstream media because they recognize that the mainstream media
a lot of lamentations at the symposium on Sunday gone. And to my mind now, I think the whole tape and shot to be looked at by those, Ipadaji, actor, and all these different places and so on. And an action plan is developed so that we don't go to the next symposium there or the 250, Coffee 251 and whatever else. Either regurgitating or restating the same things without being able to say, well, in respect of this, here's what we are doing. To get to the point I'm trying to make, we always say that the black dollar in general doesn't circulate much in the black community. And what that means in layman terms is that we don't buy from our own, unlike other race groups or ethnic groups and so forth. The black dollar circulates maybe, as they say, one time compared to 23 times with the Jews and how many other times with other race groups. Now, if your dollar is only going to circulate one time, then you're going to always have issues to do with intergenerational wealth and intergenerational poverty. Okay? So how do we have been talking on various things about how to improve the circulation of that black dollar, right? But as I said, we talk, but we don't move beyond that. And 1 year from now, the black dollar will still be circulating only one time, or maybe even less, in the black community. By the way, this is not this is not anything to do, because we like to think, well, oh, you speak racist and all this kind of thing. It has nothing to do with racism and them. So I think the reality and the studies have been done in many parts, and they want to show that even in America, for example, the black dollar circulates, and they say either 1.5 times or 2 times. And as I said, what that means is that you don't have sufficient buy-in. They have some amount of the buying power might be improving, but actual money that's circulating within the black community. And when you come to Guyana in particular, I remember a group, an American group came last year, and I think it might have been a black American group, and I think they saw a number of the big sahibs in the government and opposition and the big groups and so on. And I think one of their lamentations was the fact that we didn't have, I think, a black lawyers association, if I remember well. You know, and then there was a usual thing in the paper where they're trying to segment us and divide us and all that. But I think the point is well taken. Just like how, for example, you have Women Lawyers Association, and Women Lawyers Association have divided the lawyers group in the country. You can have these associations that identify issues that are specific to that particular ethnic group, and try to deal with them in-house. Not everything the government can do, and not everything the government must be called upon to do. Within the groups and within the communities, we can do. Okay? I remember when I was in the Minister of Finance, there was a Black Contractors Association. There was a Black Contractors Association. But I don't know where that Black Contractors is today. I don't know if it's defunct. I know I met it twice. I listened to their concerns. I made a number of recommendations to them. But here we are today, Black contractors complaining. They don't have a voice because they're not united. They're not united, and people that are divided or disunited will be picked off easily. Okay? I saw over the weekend, I believe it was, last week, or sometime over the weekend, that Jack Dio was meeting with what they call Black entrepreneurs. At the Chunk Convention Center. And of course, they were there, they carried their woes there. Why y'all don't go and form yourself into some unity group or something, and then come back to us with a proposal? We don't seem to understand. I know you were there on Sunday, for example, when one member of the audience talked about giving the black group oil blocks. Oil blocks. Now, I mean, even the expertise in-house, or that we could call upon to form some kind of consortium to be able to exploit that oil block, if we were lucky to get one of it. So that is where I'm putting these questions out there. Do we have a black chamber of commerce? I mean, we complain bitterly that the existing private sector bodies don't serve our interests. We complain bitterly about that. But yet, there has been no move to form, for example, an African Guyanese Chamber of Commerce, in which issues that are germane to African Guyanese in particular, and there may be some issues that will be national, like access to capital, access to land, and all these different things. But we have entrepreneurial issues that not going to be solved by the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce or the Private Sector Commission and so on. Those issues will have to be solved at that other level, where we understand issues of legacy, history, and so forth, and where these issues can be tackled in-house in the concept of a black chamber of commerce. Do we have a compendium of black business? as we say in the United States, do we have a compendium of black businesses? Very often you hear one for so portions, and you can't find it. Not even in the directs. You don't look to the directory put out by the DTNT and so on. If you want to find a plumber or so on, you know. But do we have a compendium of black businesses? If you want the black dollar to circulate more often than it's doing right now, then we have to be able to do things. I'm not talking about making wild noises, but don't buy from Indians and don't buy from Portuguese and that kind. I'm not talking about those things. Those are genius things, and I don't believe personally in them. But I believe in organizing yourself to improve your status. Organizing yourself to improve status. And that is why it's very important for programs like RAID, Rural Agricultural Infrastructure Development Project, to be extended to a number of the villages, to bring back the whole entrepreneurial spirit in agriculture. You know, before I became a minister, and even when I was a minister, I used to go to the markets. Even long after I became a minister, I used to go to the markets every Thursday and do my shopping and interact with the vendors and so on. And I must admit to you, they love to see me because they recognize me as going there many years before I actually became a minister. And we used to interact, Indian vendors, black vendors, whatever, and so on. Very nice, and it gave me a lot of input for my budget. And in fact, I think 1 or 2 times I referenced the fact that part of the group that I consulted was the vendors in markets and so on. And I remember distinctly this time when I, not as a minister, when I went to buy sorrel. You know, sorrel comes into the season coming close to the Christmas. And so I went there to African Guyanese vendor and asked her how she was selling the sorrel. And she told me $100 a parcel or something like that. Very small parcel and so on. So I said to her, if I bought a little what we call boxes, you know, as a kind of business strategy consumer to the seller. And the lady proceeded to tell me how, no, she can't do that because how much money is for a bag of sorrel, and she had to go to canal number 1 to buy this sorrel and all this kind of stuff. The lady, you know, that's a very strange business strategy that you have. I mean, would you prefer to have this sorrel later to this afternoon or having to come back tomorrow and sell them rather than having a practice that suggests, you know, somebody comes buying $1,000 worth of it, that's 10 parcels gone, all you're doing is throwing it on. And I said to her, from where did you do you hail? And she said, from Buxton. And I said, you know, that is interesting that you coming from Buxton and going to canal number 1, number 2, ever pulled on the West Demerara to buy a bag of sorrel to come to Border Market to resell it. I said, you know, this is I said it's hard to digest, really, because I know Buxton is a village back in the day that was known for its agriculture, known for its fruits. You know, and I mean, sorrel is not a heavy. I plant sorrel in my yard, but I can't plant. But sorrel grows in my yard, and at Christmas we rip enough to make a couple jugs of drink. So I don't know that there's a big technology in sorrel. But the point I was making is, if you really want to empower yourself and have and talk about wealth and talking about income and so on, we have to have these programs where people move from retailers into producers. Right? They move from retailers into producers. So RAID, programs like RAID that maintain their status in the community, or raise the status in the community. So I thought by way of some comments on this and so on, that while it's good, in memory of a titan like Guyana, I think he will love to see the symposium continue, but that he will want to see us move beyond rhetoric into concerted programs of action. So by the time the next one comes around, you will have a part of the program that talks about the report card and the structuring of the existing, of the new symposium to deal with either the report card or with issues that continue to be born in and so on. What do you think, Kida?
Of course, it's a practical recommendation, and even as you mentioned that, I reflected on the fact that when we were observing the occasion of Brother Yusi's 96th birth anniversary, one of the things he requested or was suggested and accepted by us all was that we were going to give out 96 plaques in the Buxtonian community, one for each year. And that thing did not get stuck because communities all across this country, black communities, especially those that were touched by the brilliance and the exemplary conduct of Brother Yusi, requested that they too be part of this program. As I know for a fact, coming out of the 96th birth anniversary observances, there are lots and lots of plants around this country. I don't know if they name them Guyana, but there are lots of plants out there. And yes, those recommendations are practical, and I usually try as much as I tell people on my program. When I tell them to do things, it's just things that I myself am willing to do and perhaps I'm in an advanced state of doing. People who are around me will know that most of the recommendations I make, especially for economic survival, are things that I myself have tried or am doing. Just to reflect on that surreal story and the RAID project, I must say, and I always tell people when they talk about the coalition not doing anything for black people, I refer those villages that the RAID project were identified, the RAID project was identified for and implemented in. Mocha is ahead of the curve right now as far as I understand. Mocha, with the help of a certain agriculturalist, has now gone to market with new and innovative products or product. I can tell you that they hold a frequent market there and so on. Buxton, on the other hand, Buxton had started producing. Lands were being taken up nicely. But the usual challenge with Buxton, as soon as the coalition, or perhaps even before the coalition was forced out of office, Buxton started facing some of the very challenges which had caused its productive